Hello, Surventors! How are you all doing today? I am so excited that you all are here and just ready to go. It is Zora, and I am just so glad that you all are here today. So, I am really sad that you guys don't get to come here and be at camp this summer. It is really upsetting. But there are still so many ways that we can stay connected and stay together. And this is one of the best ways to do that, through Mount Gilead at home. So while you guys aren't here, camp looks a little different for me. I'm actually not doing camp because you guys aren't here. Instead, I'm still working at a school, and I am passing out lunches to kids who wouldn't get food otherwise. So, before we get started in today's Surventor Bible X, we are going to do a little project. So, the things that you will need for this project are some puffy paints and a plastic bag, and if you really want to, you might want a sheet of paper as well. So, first of all, you want to make sure that you are doing this on a surface that it is okay if you get it a little bit messy, because you know how arts and crafts gets a little messy. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your piece of paper, you are going to put it inside of your plastic bag. Your plastic bag can be any size. It can be a really big one, it can be a really small one, be a thin one, a thick one, it doesn't matter as long as it is a plastic bag, okay? So the only reason why we have that piece of paper in there is so that we can see where we are drawing. So today we are going to be making a rainbow window cling. So what you're going to do is you are going to take out your puffy paint, and you are going to literally just paint a rainbow on the plastic bag. That's it. It is so easy. Make sure that you're not doing it too thick. If you do it really, really thick, it's actually going to take forever to dry. So if you want to be able to use it within the next day or two, you want to make sure that it's on the thinner side, but not so thin that you can see the paper on the other side. So you want to make sure that that is fully covered. And you can do your rainbow in any amount of colors. Ooh, came out a little fast there. You can make it as big or as small as you want it to be. And eventually, you will end up with a finished product that looks something like this. I ended up putting little clouds on the bottom of it. Let's put some paper behind it so that you can see it. Put some clouds on the bottom of it, made it not that big, but once it is fully dried, you'll be able to peel it off and stick it onto any window. And you will see why a rainbow is so important later on in the lesson. If you're somebody like me who likes to be doing something while you're listening, feel free to keep on going. If you need to have your hands still so that you can listen, feel free to pause the video here and then come back later once you're ready. But let's get into it. Don't you ever think that sometimes people from the Old Testament are a little bit difficult to relate to? And if you don't know what I mean, the Old Testament are the books of the Bible that go all the way from Genesis, all the way up until Matthew. So it's all the books that come before Jesus. But the people from the Old Testament, they're a little different from us. How many of you have ever been eaten by a giant whale? No? How many of you have ever fought a 10-foot tall giant and killed him with a single stone? No? Still nobody? See, sometimes those people are really difficult to be able to relate to and feel the same way that they do in those circumstances. But I think that the circumstance that you're in right now, staying home because of this crazy virus, is actually making a certain Old Testament Bible character much more understandable. Now, if you think you know who it is, keep it in your head. We are talking about someone who was in quarantine. Quarantine. Where have you heard that before? You are in quarantine right now, or you just got out of quarantine. Many of you stopped going to school because of it, and many of you didn't really get to see many of your friends because of it. Now, the definition, for those of you who don't know, of quarantine is to impose isolation or being by yourself on a person, an animal, or a place. So it's somebody saying you have to stay in one specific place, and you can't bring new people into it. So we're going to talk about somebody today who was in their own isolation or quarantine, just like us. So in order to do this, we have to go back to the very beginning of the Bible, and we are going to Genesis 6 today. So if you have your Bibles, you can feel free to flip there. We're going to Genesis 6. And to give you a little bit of background here, at this point in time, the earth is filled with a lot of really, really bad people. A lot of people who aren't following God's ways, who are disobeying him, who just have a lot of evil and meanness in their hearts. So that's what the world looks like. And there was only one good guy. So we are talking about Noah. And if you look at Genesis 6:13, it says, "And God said to Noah, I have determined to make an end of all flesh, for the earth is filled with violence through them. Behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. Make rooms in the ark and cover the inside and out with pitch," or that's like a tar, like a really sticky substance. "This is how you will make it. The length of the ark is 300 cubits. Its breadth, or how wide it is 50 cubits. And its height is 30 cubits. To give you a little bit of reference, 30 cubits is taller than the dining hall. This ark is a huge boat. It is absolutely massive. So we're about to figure out why Noah has to build this massive ark. "Make a roof for the ark and finish it to a cubit above and set the door of the ark on its side. Make it with lower, second, and third decks. For behold, I will bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, in which is the breath of life under heaven. Everything that is on the earth shall die." So Noah right now is being told that even though it has never ever rained before, something like this has never happened, all of a sudden he's going to need a boat in the middle of a desert, essentially, in the middle of dry land. He's going to need a massive 3 times, 4 times the size of the dining hall sized boat, which is absolutely crazy. Now, Noah was instructed to bring 2 kinds of every single animal, except for birds and clean animals. Then he was told to bring 7 pairs of each of those. That meant 14 of every single type of bird and clean animal, in addition to the 2 of every other animal. That is a lot of animals to fit on this ark. Even though it might be big, I don't know. It seems like it's a lot of animals to fit in a small space. And we're going to skip ahead. We're going to go to Genesis 7:17. "The flood continued 40 days on the earth. The waters increased and bore up the ark, and it rose high above the earth. The waters prevailed and increased greatly on the earth, and the ark floated on the face of the waters. And the waters prevailed so mightily on the earth that all the high mountains under the whole heaven were covered." Did you catch that at the beginning? How long it was raining for? For 40 whole days and nights. It just kept coming and coming and raining and raining. That is absolutely crazy. That's about a third of the amount of time that we were in quarantine. Now, imagine how you felt. Remember when we first went into quarantine and you weren't allowed to go to school anymore? You were stuck at home and you couldn't see your friends, and your house was filled with your crazy siblings. And sometimes they can be as loud as animals, I know. But imagine now doing that, but on a boat. And it's raining the whole time. Some of you guys may have been able to go out to the park. Not Noah. He was stuck on this boat the entire time, which is absolutely insane. But not only did it rain for 40 days and 40 nights, the waters covered the earth for a total of 150 days. That's 150 days after it stopped raining and before the waters started going down. That is a long, long time. That is half a year. So now we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. So we're going to go ahead and skip forward to Genesis 8, verse 6. At the end of 40 days, this is 40 days after the water started going down. So all in all, that's 150 plus 40 plus another 40. So 230 days. 230 days is a very, very long time. So at the end of 40 days, Noah opened up the window of the ark that he had made, and he sent forth a raven, and it went to and fro until the waters were dried up from the earth. And he sent forth a dove from him to see if the waters had subsided from the face of the ground. But the dove found no place to set her foot, and she returned to him to the ark, for the waters were still on the face of the whole earth. So he put out his hand, and he took her and brought her into the ark with him. He's still going through it. Another 7 days go by. Noah's going to try again. So he waited another 7 days, and again he set forth the dove out of the ark. And the dove came back to him in the evening, and behold, in her mouth was a freshly plucked olive leaf. A freshly plucked olive leaf. What does that mean? If a dove found a freshly plucked olive leaf, that means that the dove was able to reach a tree. There is land that is starting to appear. There is light at the end of the tunnel. This is very exciting. Then he waited another 7 days and sent forth the dove, and she did not return to him any more. So the dove went out. She found a spot that she could rest. She found a spot that she could live, and she didn't come back. So that means that the dove found dry land. The dove found life again. But this isn't the end. We're bringing it all back to the rainbow. Now, I want you guys, once they dry, to peel off these rainbow window clings. And I want you to stick them on a window that you're going to see every day. And I want it to be a window that light comes through, that you're going to look at it and remember something. I'm going to tell you what we're going to remember. We're going to flip to Genesis 9, verse 13 through 17. Verse 13 says, I've set my bow in the cloud. When it says bow, it means rainbow. That's what we know it to be now. And I set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. When I bring clouds over the earth, and the bow is seen in the clouds, I will remember my covenant that is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. That includes you. And the waters shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. When the bow is in the clouds, I will see it, and I will remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is on the earth. God said to Noah, this is the sign of the covenant that I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth. God promises us that he is never going to flood the earth again. And through all of this, Noah still has faith in God. Noah still has hope. You can see that by him sending out more birds. That means that he knows that the water is going to subside. He knows that there is light at the end of this tunnel and that God will provide for them, just as God will provide for you. And the amazing thing about God's promises is that they are never ending. I am positive that every single one of you have seen a rainbow at some point in your life. I am sure of it. We see tons of them at camp. That promise God made to Noah a long, long, long time ago. And he is still reminding us of those promises to this day. So when you look at your little window cling of the rainbow, I want you to look at it and remember that God makes us promises, that he will be faithful, and that he has never broken a promise, ever. That is an amazing thing to be able to proclaim. Isn't that so exciting? Guys, I am so glad that you tuned in today for Mount Gilead at Home. I'm so thankful that we have this time to be able to spend together. Make sure to be tuned for more videos that are to come, and we will see you next year at camp.